What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again once more. And as usual, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you this fine Tuesday, right? And of course, issue a disclaimer for every material that's going to be shown here in this here video, right? So let's get to them. So he's rejecting that these two things are not connected. We're going to have a lot of slides pertaining to this matter, right? And we're going to see basically what is the narrative being painted or what is the psyop being ran, right? So here they say US will help Ukraine find compromise. It's not the responsibility of the US to find compromise on the Russian side. No. I saw this and this is cool. This is cool. Yeah, but I hear nothing about this. Yes, it was mad, huh? Okay, again, German publicly endorses the US role, highlighting growing transatlantic alignment on Ukraine post-conflict security framework. This has also happened. We are talking about bilateral security guarantees between Ukraine and the United States, namely Article 5-like guarantees, as well as security guarantees for us, both from our European partners and from other countries such as Canada, Japan, and others. Zelensky told journalists in a group chat. Okay. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. This seems like a statement by a representative for a generation that has managed to forget what World War II was actually like. There are no understanding, and unfortunately, Mr. Rutte, making such a responsible statement, simply does not understand what he's talking about. Yes, a recent statement made by Rutte, as we say, out of pocket, right? Out of order. If Ukraine falls, he won't stop there, Merz said, referring to Putin. This is a Russian aggressive war against Ukraine and against Europe. Putin's aim is fundamental change of the borders in Europe, the restoration of the old Soviet Union within its borders, the German Chancellor. Right? So these are the things that they were talking about. At least this is the mindset that they have when they are going to this negotiation. Right? Okay, and let's not forget, or rather misuse the word negotiation. No, these are all preparations for negotiations. Okay, what is happening in Berlin is not a negotiation. No. Right? If Russia and if the Russians and the West are sitting together, now that's a negotiation. Right? So whatever I said, apart from that, is just presumption. And most likely working under the pretense that Russia will just accept everything the US brings, which is not correct. EU Chief Diplomat Callas, another 40 shadow fleet vessels to be sanctioned. Well, let them sanction whatever they want to sanction, but this shadow fleet, or shadow fleet, so to speak, there needs to be a mechanism to protect these vessels. Okay, having their grabby little hands on them is not ideal. And again, they do believe like 40 vessels will cripple Russia. They seriously do believe that. that the Russian economy is reliant on 40 vessels. These pirates. Well, of course, there is an hypocrisy, right? China only uses water cannons, but of course, don't hear a peep. Why? Because as long as it is a white European man doing it, it's a-okay. Well, so many proxies, and China knows this. So let's talk about these two events. One of them was that statue. Remember that statue that was removed, and then they somehow found a way to return it, and now this big ass picture here, right? This is all pressure on Trump, and whoever is behind this is doing this. Okay, you cannot tell me that they installed this big ass thing here without being seen. No, I do not agree with that narrative. No, these are people within the system that are backing this to happen. Okay, the same goes with the statue, right? It's not an invisible force that installed that statue over there the last time. No. All of this is coordinated by the warmongers in the US, which Trump refuses to address and still insists to talk about peace, while there are people within Europe and within America who are undermining the process. It is almost a joke, right? We can all see how the conclusion is going to be. That if the US representative or Trump in this matter carries whatever the Europeans have been saying towards Russia, I don't know, some Article 5 like guarantees. Do people even know what Article 5 guarantees look like? It means a direct confrontation between Ukraine, US, and Russia, or against Russia. That is what Article 5 like. Now, under what circumstance do we see Russia accepting this? This is the same as allowing NATO forces to go into Ukraine, or allowing international legion of some sort from the West or sponsored by the West to somehow give security guarantees to Ukraine. We have been here before. But anyway, awana oya kama gawa boss. Maskini si ndo wanavyoinda. Okay, so stop this. Stop this. This is all pressure on Trump. Of course, the untouchables. So developing things from Congo, the M23 have supposedly left, right, the city that they captured, Uvira. And of course, there is also news from the Congolese army that they were gathering for a counter-offensive. So in one way, I should be glad that the damage and the chaos was avoided. But again, the situation is still unstable. There's so much hypocrisy and dishonesty and a lot of hidden stuff, let's just say that. Okay, we're gonna wait for that report. And how are you gonna make sure that this does not happen again? Right. So Tanzania has always been open to help Congo, always, since the beginning of this war, throughout its many presidencies. Our role has always been consistent towards our neighbors when it comes to military support under various flags, right? UN, AU, all of that, in different times and different occasions. right? And Congo right now does not need more guns or more wars. That's why I stopped even using that whole thing. Not now. Hmm? Yeah, some other people have some other angles. Unauthorized. Hmm? So, again, what is wrong? Are you like born with itchy trigger fingers or something? Or maybe it is because of this. So they recently came out and said there are about 10,000 non-Ukrainian people who have died, as in soldiers who have died in the confrontation, and most of them being these people here. Hmm? What are these demands? And maybe somebody should tell him that he has lost. They have lost. Hmm? And this is not doing anything here, right? Agency of slavery and stuff. Of course, Kenyans have been being used for this, right? Running this psyop for a really long time, right? They are claiming that the Russians were basically baiting Kenyans. Najua leo? Kwema. Basically, the Russians were baiting Kenyans into joining their ranks and basically forcing them to fight until their contract has ended. And these Kenyans are basically unwilling participant of this war, right? And of course, they have been running this for a long time, right? The Russians gave a statement a long time ago, but I think again it's crucial to address it now, right? That are there such people who exist? Quite a familiar tactic. Mm? This was quite an interesting, even the comments. Eh? So apparently, these rebels in Congo are planning to come to Tanzania. Okay, but what you'll find here, you will not like. Again, Berlin, shocker. European troops to land in Ukraine for direct Russian fight. Multinational force. I'm just reporting what they're saying, right? I'm not even making up anything. Wow, 25%. Hmm? So, for those who are saying that Burundi is perpetuating this chaos in Congo, look at this. This is what you don't hear. 64,000 flash running from Congo to Burundi. Why? Because it is safe there. They know it is safe there. And they know that the Burundi people are not working against their interests. So these people who have access to the internet and just come out here speaking nonsense, these are the ones that ruin everything. And what even scary is that they're the ones that shape the narrative. Like I said, patriotism, big problem. Right? If you see things like this, Right? So all of these people are actually protesting and supporting M23 and other militias like AFC, right? So it's a coalition now. It's a coalition, and it's ridiculous, right? I hope you're seeing the point. Right? It's ridiculous. It's the hypocrisy and division within Congo that is prolonging this whole. Right? And it's not that they don't have a pillar; they have a whole government over there. But again, the government cannot do a job if people are actually against their mission, right? Especially against this guerrilla warfare and unconventional warfare. People are a component, a big, important component of the fight. So if those people are against you, then how can you succeed? Because these people somehow do not understand that they are the ones paying the price. Hmm? US and Europe align. Okay, and if that's the case, then I know this then completely it's a failure. If it's true, right? If it's true, then this is again a failure from the get-go. Why? Because the Europeans have been consistent on their opposition, right? They have been crystal clear. What they want to do is weaken Russia and defeat it in the battleground. That's what they've been saying for the longest. And I'm not about to sit here and, again, like I say, pretend like they have a change of heart and mind. Must you feel? Why are feelings in? There are no feelings involved here, right? And again, a very familiar motto: no peace without justice. We have had this conversation, just so you know who are behind the chaos in Tanzania. So, are we going to use the WMD excuse again to invade countries, right? Are we going to start making up satellite pictures showing these big labs, right? I don't know, maybe conveniently in Venezuela. Because if the presidency is involved, then this is like a big operation. You know, I don't know if people apprehend what people are actually receiving from Trump and Hegseth. Like, seriously, are they seriously listening to what these people are saying? Quite something. I didn't expect it to be as big as it is. Well, everybody's chiming in, and of course the Pope felt like he should chime in. Any peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine will be ineffective without strong security guarantees. Well, what is this statement telling you? It's that they have zero faith or trust in Russia. Well, why are they projecting, right? Because we should be having zero trust or faith in the Europeans. Nobody does. Nobody does, right? But these people are delusional. They're delusional. And this makes them really, really dangerous for people who are living in the real life. This is a delusion. It's a delusion that will lead to a big war if it continues, right? mob ties, and what do they call them? Baddies, right? Glorification of evil. How did it happen? Well, proximity to evil has rubbed off the wrong way. Let's just say that.
Walking past the museum, and there were lots of panels of Arabic text. And if we hadn't been with the friends who had invited us to Jordan, we wouldn't have known any more about it. And they explained to us that this was the McMahon-Hussein correspondence. We had never heard of the McMahon-Hussein correspondence. And we heard that this was when the British had promised an Arab state if the Arabs helped the British against the Ottomans. We then broke the promise and offered it to the Jews. And so that was a really, really crucial thing. We went to Israel. One of the first people we saw was the head of the British Council, a chap called Ken Churchill. We went into his room and he held up a book, which was Ilan Pappé's Ethnic Cleansing in Palestine. Had we ever heard this? We learned a lot of things in Israel. The number of people that think that the Nakba started in May 1948 after Israel took over, I didn't realize that 250,000 Palestinians had been expelled between December 1947 and May 1948, and that Britain had been actively helping that in effect, because in February 1948 they froze the Palestinian currency and they took the Palestinian currency out of the sterling area, so that Palestinians who were being expelled lost not only their homes, they lost their savings as well. And then finding out that that money was then passed on to Israel in 1950 and 51, that frozen money. So these are some of the things I've been learning. Britain was very much involved and was very much responsible.
Ireland 41 years ago. We had 10 white ladies who worked in a grocery store, and they said, we refuse to sell grapefruits imported from South Africa anymore in this grocery store, and by doing that we're going to help end apartheid. Who's with us? And the whole of Ireland went, we don't really like grapefruits, to be honest. More of a luxury product. And I don't know if you've looked outside, but we don't have any black people either, so best of luck with that strategy. To be honest, not a whole lot of people support them. You remember one or two politicians, but for the most part, the police were against them, the trade unions were against them, Dunnes Stores, the grocery store they worked in was against them, and just a lot of the country. And they were delighted one day when this black fella called Nimrod showed up, and they were like, oh, must be working. I've never seen a black guy before, and there's one out there right now, so we're having an impact. These ladies had never met a black person before, despite protesting on behalf of their rights. And this guy Nimrod said to them, ladies, what you're doing is so potentially impactful, I can't even really properly vocalize it, so I'm just going to stand with you every single day in solidarity until people pay attention. And he stood with them every single day for 6 months, walking 3 miles each way to get there with the ladies, and no one paid much attention at all, to be honest, until it made its way to a rather interesting man, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Yeah. On his way to pick up his Nobel Peace Prize, was like, I gotta meet the grapefruit ladies. And he did. He flew them over to meet with him in London. And because of that, a rather interesting guy in America got wind of it. And he said, I've never heard of a bunch of white people protesting something that affects them so little. This is fantastic. I have to march with these grapefruit ladies. That was Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he did march with the grapefruit ladies. That was enough to get the attention of a guy on his long walk to freedom on Robben Island, South Africa. And he said, once in a while, you hear other people fighting on behalf of you, and it just really inspires you to keep going. I have to meet with these grapefruit ladies. That was Nelson Mandela. And in 1990, he flew to Ireland to meet with the grapefruit ladies. And by that stage, the Irish government had given in, the trade unions gave in, the grocery store, Dunnes Stores gave in, and Ireland became the first country in the Western world to ban the import and sale of all goods from South Africa, thereby helping end apartheid with a fruit that we don't feckin' like. it's a lovely bit of history that all too often gets forgotten. But Nelson Mandela never forgot. When he passed away, he made sure that the ladies were invited guests of honor at his funeral should they wish to attend. And they did attend in a free South Africa that they helped create. And it was only around that time Nimrod, the one black guy who showed up to the protest in Dublin, got around to telling them who he actually was. He'd been Nelson Mandela's cellmate on Robben Island. Oh yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew Irish people liked speaking up for other oppressed groups. He knew we loved the hip-hop, thought we were a little bit black. And I tell you that story because the leader of those 10 white ladies was called Karen, so you never know.
Where is this island at? Palestinians need you. Yeah, so I don't know. Let me put a pin on it right there. I'm gonna have some links in the description of this video. And well, where is this headed to? I don't know, right? The Europeans ready to face the Russians at their full force, plus the Chinese at their full force, plus the Koreans at their full force. Yeah, I don't think Europe is ready for that. And for them even to do that, they need America on their side. For everything, right? Even oil. Yeah, they're gonna fight. The Americans and Europeans, they're gonna fight. Now, because the hypocrisy is obvious, the intention is obvious, right? The hypocrisy exists, right? The hypocrisy helps them not continue with the negotiations, right? The intention is war, right? We have presidents telling their peoples that they should prepare for war. So everything is clear. But are they going to fight Russia, China, and all of the allies of Russia? Are they going to fight them? I don't think so. I don't think so. And most people believe something very wrong, that that war is going to be just a normal war. No, it's going to be something like we have never seen before. Nothing like we've ever seen before. And that's the truth. Okay? So maybe they should take that into their calculations. I'm just here to show you what is out there and, of course, to give my opinion, right? That's why you're here. Right? You see exactly what I see. All right. So yeah, that's what I think. So again, we're gonna hear from each other the next time we hear from each other. Yeah. Prince Easy signing out. Bye. Love you.